Brother Watson, and thank you all for inviting me and having me here. It's a blessing for me anytime I'm able to stand up and speak to somebody and tell my story, or tell our story. And you mind if I get over here close? You don't mind, do you? Thank you. I'll be right here. And so I'm gonna ask you all to just listen and pay attention. Nothing really fancy, so I'll fit right in. But first of all, who am I? As you heard, I'm the senior plant manager at West Rock. But where did I start from? I was born and raised in a small town called Bluff City, Arkansas, in a population of 244. So very small, used to the country, raised up in the country, very familiar with it. And it was not a lot to get in trouble with back then. We didn't have a lot. We didn't have transportation to go anywhere, and there was really nothing we could do to get in trouble where we were. I'm the youngest, the baby, of 8 children, 5 boys and 3 girls. And my father was a mechanic and a logger. And my mother cleaned houses for a living, and eventually she worked at a nursing home, taking care of the sick. I helped my daddy in the family business growing up. Our daddy taught us values. Y'all listen to me. He taught us values, right from wrong. He taught us how to act, how to behave, how to treat people. And I credit that to where I am today. My mother raised us in the church. My daddy didn't always go to church when I was young. He was a good man. He did a lot of good stuff. But my daddy was about 50 years old before he really started going to church on a regular basis and serving the Lord in the church. Okay? So, that's a little bit about me. As a child, I always wanted to be married. Okay? It was just a matter of me finding somebody to marry me. And at the age of 21, I found a lovely young lady Loretta Ford. And now we've been married. This December will be 31 years. Woo-hoo! Yeah, clap for that. So, 31 years we've been married. We have 2 children and 3 grandchildren. And they are a blessing to us. So a little bit about me. I grew up as a logger. And I watched other loggers and they didn't have, so listen to me real good, kids. Listen to me real good. Loggers didn't have health care. And they didn't have retirement and other benefits. And I watched my family grow old and really not have much when they got old. I wanted more than that for my family. So I got a job at the local sawmill. And guess what my first job at the sawmill was? Who want to guess? Raise your hand. What was it? Cutting down trees? That's good. What do you say?
Trying not to be a manager.
No, we're not a manager. One more, right here, young lady. Hold on. One person at a time. Cutting wood. Okay, let me tell you what it was. My first job, listen to me, y'all. Listen. My first job was cleaning up the basement in the sawmill. That was my first job. Don't shake your head. Cleaning up the basement. And when I came here 8 years ago as the senior plant manager, I was walking across the sawmill yard one day, okay? And I saw a potato chip bag on the ground. And I bent down, I picked it up, and I walked over and I put it in the trash. And a young man walked up to me, and this is what he said. He said, "You never walk past a piece of trash because you're the plant manager." But what I said to him was, no, I'm the plant manager because I never walked past a piece of trash. Okay? So that's something I need you to think about. Always improve whatever condition you have. Because see, they didn't know my story. And I had to tell him, my first job in the sawmill was picking up these potato chip bags. And I did a good job at it. So whatever you do in life, give it your best. I never dreamed I would be a plant manager. I never dreamed I would be standing here speaking to you today until one day, and this is my story, when I finally became a superintendent at the mill in Arkansas, where I'm from. The job became so much stress to me, listen to me y'all, listen, that I walked off one day to quit. What do you think about that? And I had a wife and 2 kids at home. And I went home, and guess what you think I did when I got home? Raise your hand, raise your hand. Right over in the blue shirt. Not exactly. What did I do?
You wanted a job, so you went right back.
Now, what did I do? One more. Now I ask you, what did I do? How long? This what? I got down on my knees and prayed. That's what I did. I got down on my knees and prayed. And I had to stay on my knees and pray for 8 days. 8 days. And I was asking God, why was I in such a stressful situation? And the answer to my prayer was that I was being selfish. And God told me to stop being selfish and stop having my pity party, because He had placed me here so that one day I could come here to the Christian Center and speak to you. What He told me was that I put you in this position to bless others. And so get up and go help somebody else along the way. And that's why I'm here. So what are the keys to success? God, church, and family. And I put those together. They're all important and they all need to go together. You need to respect, honor God, the church, and your family. Y'all hear me? Listen good, okay? If you don't, I'll bring you up here to sit by me, okay? There was a man in the Bible in John. So we got to do this. We got to do it in order. So when we do that, the next thing we got to have is academics. Academics mean we got to learn to read and write. You got to learn to do arithmetic. You need to learn how to count money. You need to learn how to succeed in life. And the other thing that we need to know in life, you ought to know how to grow something in a garden. How many people now have a garden at their house? That's good. How many people now, if it becomes necessary, to plant tomatoes, plant cucumbers, plant greens, and live off of them? You need to learn that. You also need to learn to fix something. You need to learn to repair something. Change oil in the car. Fix an appliance in the house. You need to learn these skills as you grow up. There was a man in the Bible. Listen. In John. There was a man in the Bible in John. I'll stop till y'all listen. Okay. Y'all ready to listen? Okay. There was a man in the Bible, and he laid by this pool, and he had an infirmity. And the story goes that every now and then the water would be stirred. The Lord would stir the water. And the first one to step in the water would be healed. This man had laid by this pool, if my memory is right, about 38 years with his sicknesses. Jesus approached this man one day, and he asked this man the question. He said, what is it that do you want to be made well? Okay? So the man responded by saying, well, whenever the water is stirred, nobody will help me in. Everybody else gets in the water ahead of me. And everybody walk by me and nobody will help me in. But in reality, Jesus asked him if he wanted to be made well. So now, why do I tell this story? Too often in life, we blame others for our situation. Listen to me good. Too often in life, we blame others because we are where we are, instead of looking at ourselves and simply doing what Christ told this man to do. What did Christ tell that man to do? Who knows that story? What did he tell him? Huh? What did he tell him?
Take up the bed and walk.
He told him to take up his bed and walk. And so what I tell you today is to rise, take up your bed and walk. So what does it mean to rise and take up your bed and walk? What does that mean? One person, raise your hand. What does it mean? Stand up and walk. What else does it mean? I've got calling you right here.
Stop blaming others and do it yourself.
Stop blaming others and do it yourself. But what is it? What is it? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. What is it? Part of it. What else is it? What is it that we need to do for ourselves? We need to, number one, stay in school, right? And nobody in here gives the teacher any trouble, right? Nobody. I know we don't. We real good in school. Listen. Listen. Hold up. I'll stop. I'll stop until you listen. See, my wife is also an educator. She teaches school and has now for about 20 years. You leaving me? Are you leaving me, sir? You leaving? Where are you going? Huh? Okay. All right. You ought to make a minute. I ain't gonna be that long. You might miss something you need to have. That's what I think. So let's just listen. Listen to me, children. Life, you have to play with the hand that you dealt. So learn to read and write. Everybody now has the right to learn how to read, write, add, subtract. Stay in school. Listen to your teachers. Listen to your parents. Listen to your church, your ministers, your mentors, and carry yourself in a good way. And don't grow up in life blaming others. You know, when I started working hard cleaning the basement, this is the stuff I heard. You working too hard. You making the rest of us look bad. When the break was over, I would get up and go back to work. They would say, you leaving the break room too early. You making the rest of us look bad. And I would always say, well, the break's over. It's time to go to work. If you don't want to look bad, come and go with me. Don't be influenced by naysayers. Okay? When I grew up and I was a teenager, somebody approached me once, and guess what they asked me to do? Somebody raise their hand. What they asked me to do? At 18 years old. Help me do what? Huh? Not pray. Sell drugs. Sell drugs. When I was 18, somebody approached me and asked me to sell drugs. And they did that in the way of flashy money and quick money and popularity and fame. But drugs is the end, the beginning of destruction. You need to stay away from drugs. And a lot of people now say, oh, marijuana won't hurt you. It's got health benefits. Here's what happens with marijuana, especially in a young mind. Right now, in your sound mind, you can make good decisions. But once you get high on marijuana, then you are no longer in your sound mind. And before you know it, you're on cocaine, you're on meth, you're on heroin, and you're on something else that's going to totally destroy your body and kill you. Stay away from drugs, okay? And don't grow up, listen, do not grow up blaming others for your situation. Who has the most control in the world of your situation? Who does? You do. Exactly right. And what are you going to do with that control? Huh? You're going to control it in a very positive way, right? And I believe that. Okay, so that's what happened. Listen, next, what must you do? You must respect yourself. Young men, talk to you first. You must respect yourself. And you also must respect who? Young men, raise your hand. You raise yours every time. That's good.
Respect women.
Right here. Huh?
Women.
Stand up and say it. Say the words you said the first time. Stand up and answer. That's a good answer. You're right. Listen to him. Huh? That's right. So what does it mean? Listen. So, let me tell you all something. We just had a great meal, right? It's not what goes in your body that defiles you. It's what comes out. And it's what comes out of your mouth. And you need to think about what you say, when you say it, and how you say it. And let me tell you, if you want long, prosperous days on this land, the first thing you got to do is respect your parents in all times. Period. Number one. If you want to have a lot of trouble on this side, be disrespectful to your parents and grown folks. The young men, respect your body. What does that mean? Eat right. Exercise. Take care of yourself. Speak to, talk right. Say it in the mic. There you go. Talk right. You got to learn to talk right and speak right to ladies. Ladies, young girls. One of the young girls, raise your hand. Young girls. All right, so young ladies, what is it that you must do? Raise your hand.
Act like a lady.
Listen. Act like a lady. What else?
Treat a man right.
Okay, treat a man right. Okay? Let's make sure we know what that one means. Who else? Right here. Respect the dough. So, yes. That's right. So listen to me, y'all. All right, I'm quiet. I'm gonna stop y'all. Listen. Be conscious, young lady, of how you dress.
Yes.
Be conscious of how you carry yourself. And this is to the young men and the young women. I've been around a lot. I've never seen the president, I've never seen a plant manager dress a whole lot different than how I'm dressed now. Their clothes gonna basically be neat. They're gonna fit. They're gonna have a belt around their waist, and their clothes gonna be neat, and they're gonna fit them properly. Young men, learn to dress like you are somebody. Young ladies, cover up what's not to be seen. Everything is not supposed to be seen to everybody. So learn to dress very discreet and learn to cover up. And young ladies, listen. Young ladies, what is it that you should demand of a young boy? Who's the oldest young lady in here? Any teenagers? About a teenager. That's it. Are you a teenager? No. Got one in the back. So listen, young ladies, when you do become a teenager, because our daughter became a teenager, and she got ready to date and had the boys come over to the house, demand, young ladies, demand that a young boy respects you. Demand that he's working. Demand that he is going to school. Demand that he's not on drugs, that he's got something going for him, or do not give him the time of day. And if you will do that, young lady, they will act better. And if he approaches you in any other way other than respecting you and treating you like a queen, you need to send him down the highway. This is a true story. My daughter, first time she got old enough to date, young boy, because this is where I was. The young boy had to come to the house. He had to knock on the door and meet me before he was going to take our daughter out on a date. And so my daughter was telling us, now look, you're going to meet my daddy. It's going to be very different probably than what you used to. You must, this is my rule. You got to be dressed neat. You're going to have a belt around your waist. Your pants not to fit. Your shirt tail going to be tucked in your pants. You can't have any body piercings, and you cannot have any tattoos. If you do, I'm telling you now, my daddy's going to ask you to leave. And that's just the way I was. I was very strict. I'm telling you, young ladies, listen, to be very strict in who you allow in your circle, okay? One more story. Jesus in the Bible asked a question. He says, who do men say that I am? Who all remember that scripture? Where he walked in and said, who do men say that I am? And Peter finally answered it. And what did Peter say? He said, thou art the Christ. People will call you out of your name as you grow up. You are not measured by what you are called. You are measured by what you answer to. Think about what I'm saying. Don't worry about what people call you. You worry about what you answer to. People call me out of my name all the time right now. But I know who I am. And I know what I am. And I know who I belong to. And God told me that my body was a temple. And how do you treat a temple? You treat it special. And I'm saying to you to treat your bodies like the temple of God that He created them to be, and to treat them special, respect them, and take care of them. Okay? So, whatever you get in life, when you blessed with something, take care of it. See, you all don't know this, but when we were children, y'all probably know about this. We didn't even have running water in our house until I was in 3rd grade. Before we got running water in our house. How many of you kids had to go outside and get water in the old pump? Let's see how old people are. When you had to pitch it and set by the pump, and you had to prime the pump and put it out, tell an age check. That's what we had growing up. And a lot of people will look at us now and don't believe that. They don't understand that. My wife went back to school after we got married. And she got her degree afterwards. Oftentimes, young people, let me tell you this. We make mistakes in life. But a mistake does not have to keep you down. You can overcome it if you dedicate yourself to it, if you commit yourself to it, and if you surround yourself with the right people. You need to be in a positive environment, okay? So last, but certainly not least, number 1. What's number 1 in our lives? Jesus, God, right?
And family.
Family in the church. Come on over here. You said you're going to stand by me. Come on. Academics. You got to learn to read and write. And then if you have time after that, you can go out and you can have some fun. Believe me this, you all things are possible through who? Christ Jesus who strengthens us. And if we believe in him and trust him and have faith, and I don't want to just leave you with the word faith, because sometimes we leave you all with that. But I think it's in the book of James where it says, faith without works is dead. Your faith has to equate into works. So we're going back to school tomorrow, right? And we're going to be dedicated to our schoolwork. Who all going to be dedicated? Raise your hands high. I don't see some hands up. We're going to listen. We're going to listen to our teachers, right? Yes. We're going to put forth 100% effort. When I was in school, let me tell you this story and I'll quit. All right, I'm going to stop you and listen, because you need to hear this. All right, when I was in school, I was actually very smart. And I made the honor roll most of the time. But I could have been a straight A student. Guess what kept me from being a straight A student all through school? Not math. I love math. I made A's in math. What kept me? Huh? Not drugs. All of that above. And so I didn't put forth enough effort. I made the honor roll without trying. One class that I was the worst in, it was social studies and history. Pretty good. I didn't try. And guess why I didn't try? Well, I didn't want to, but but because of this, I never thought, I doubted myself, and I never thought I would use it in life. Because as far as I could see my life ever going was get hired at the sawmill and maybe promote up and drive a forklift until I'm 65 and draw Social Security. That's as far as I could see. But what I'm telling you is, if you're faithful to what you do, irregardless of what people say about you, God will open doors for you that you did not know exist. And now I wish I would have done better in history. Because now history is valuable to me. I had no dreams I would be standing here. But I dedicated myself. And when God opened the doors, I took the initiative to step in. It hadn't always been easy. But one thing you need to remember when you bless is to give back. Okay? Always go and give back and bless somebody else. So do your best. Even though right now, you might not see where social study is going to help you. You may not see where history is going to help you. But you don't see yet what God has in store for you. And he is preparing you for that right now. So do the very best you can in everything that you can do. So remember, never ever pass an opportunity to make the situation you are in better. We're going to school tomorrow. We're dedicating ourselves to whatever it is we're working on. I'm going to give, if it's okay, 5 minutes. Anybody can ask me any question they want about how I got where we are and what I think we need to do to succeed. Start right here. I can't hear you. I've been in the sawmill for 35 years. All right, whoever, get it together. Okay, what's the question? Now look, let me tell you something. Since you asked me that question, listen to me. Listen. Sports don't excite me. I don't, just listen to me now, okay? Oftentimes, we get so caught up in sports, and the hype of sports, and the 1 in 10,000 people that make it. And we chase that and we don't make it. I'm not saying don't chase it, but you sure better have a backup plan. I work with a young man now that was really, really good in sports. He made it to the NBA, and he's in Phoenix City, Alabama. His first year he got hurt, and he hadn't played since. No income, and he didn't get the education he needed to do while he was focusing on sports. Sports is leading a lot of our kids astray. Sports is really a cost and not an income. Get something up here. Make sure are you on the honor roll? You're a straight A. When you get on the honor roll, be a straight A student. Then focus on the sport. That's my opinion, y'all. That's my opinion. There's too many people, listen to me, too hyped up on that 1 or 2 names that you can call in sports. That the reality is you might never see. Any other questions? We got 2 minutes. Yes. I can't hear you. Stand up and speak loud. What do you think? On this earth? Absolutely. I do. And I do because God has more work for me to do, and He's blessed me to see this. And I'll tell you this much, my days have already been long. And they've already been blessed, they've already been fortunate. Whatever days that the Lord decides to give me, I'm going to make the best of them. Okay? So let's make the best of this day. And if the Lord let us see tomorrow, we make the best of that day. And we're going to make the best of our day tomorrow by doing what? By being good in school and getting a good education. Obeying our parents and being good citizens. Okay? And we're not going to blame other people for our situation. Yes. Do I still love my wife? Listen. Here was the question. The question was, do I still love my wife? Absolutely. And I will always love her. Look. And you should always love the person that you love. Absolutely. Still love it today just like the first day I met you.
Any more questions y'all got for Chuck? Y'all listen up. Quiet.
You got a question?
Did you mean to get yourself into drugs? Did you mean to get yourself into selling drugs?
The question was, did I mean to get myself into selling drugs? Let me tell you what kept me probably more than anything else from selling drugs. Because when they approached me, it was enticing looking to me at the age of 18. It looked pretty good. It looked like I might make some money doing it when I first was approached by it. But let me tell you what happened. There was a known drug dealer in our town. That drug dealer came to our house, and he was probably about 40, and I was 18. And he came to our house, and he asked to see me. And my mother, who was a praying lady, wanted to know why that man came to see me. Let me tell you my story. I could not lie to my mother. and I could not hurt my mother. And I refused to hurt my mother. And I told that young man to never ask for me, never look for me, or really never even speak to me again. And I did that because of the hurt that I could see in my mother's eyes, that I knew I was getting ready to cause. And so the love of my mother and what my mother had taught me, and I knew this was wrong, convicted my heart, convicted my spirit, and it kept me on the straight and narrow path. And I never thought about the drug since. Yes.
I want to be an engineer. You have any advice?
The question is, I want to be an engineer. Do you have any advice? I absolutely have advice for you. We have every engineering field there is that works at our plant. We probably have 120 engineers. If you want to be an engineer, this is my first word of advice. Stay in school that you're in right now and make good grades. Go to a college. Do your best to get a scholarship. Go to college.
I got a scholarship.
All right. Once you get to college, this is what you probably don't know. Listen to me. You want to co-op with a good company like us. You know what that means? That means that you go to school one semester, and then you come out and you work with us one semester. And that's how, when you finish school, you got experience. And that will put you ahead of the rest. And people that don't know that, people finish school as engineers all the time. And the first question they ask them is, do you have any experience? And you got to say no. And those kids that co-op have a whole lot better chance of getting a good job. And they actually pay you to co-op. And so I will do that. And what kind of engineer you want to be? Okay, I tell you what grade you in. 8? You don't know how long. I'll still be around. Brother Watson and Shannon know how to get in touch with me. This is my word to you today. You finish, you stay in high school. It's my commitment to you. What's your name? What's your last name? Edward. This is my word to you today. You stay in school, you finish with good grades. You get in college as an engineer. I will set you up at our paper mill in the co-op. And I will help you get through engineering school. And I will help you get a job. But you gotta first stay in school. Okay? So now you gotta remember me and where I'm at. And I work for a very good company. You can have a very good career as an engineer. That's my promise to you today. Any other questions? Any facts? How old am I? How old do you think I am? 52. I'm 52 years old. I'm 52 years old. And listen to this. Let me tell you this.
Y'all listen up. Listen up. Y'all getting too loud.
Listen up. See, when I finished high school, I went to work. I never considered college. Because again, I was the youngest of 8 kids. Financially, I didn't really understand college. My oldest brother got drafted, dropped out over in Vietnam. I did join the Army Reserve. And so I needed an income. I needed to eat. And so I got a job. I had to go back to school after I started my job. And after I started work. And guess what? I'm 52. And I'm the senior plant manager of the sawmill. And guess what I do every Monday night right now? I do that every day. I go to school. I'm still in school. And I'm still educating myself. Me and Shannon go to a class together. It's a 9-week course, just like college, every Monday night from 6 to 9. Okay, any other questions? Yes. It's actually a leadership course. It teaches on leadership. It teaches us how to lead other people, how to manage stress, how to do speeches like I'm doing now. It's a Dale Carnegie course. You ever heard of that? That's what we do.
Where your company located at?
My company is located in Cottonton, Alabama. Let me tell you a little bit about it. On our plant site, We have 900 employees. Our job pays anywhere as an hourly work, from $12 an hour to $40 an hour. We have 100 engineers on our plant site. We have nurses, we have business professionals, we have HR administration, we got clerical, we got operators. We employ another 500 contractors every day. And we're getting ready to go into an outage now to where we'll have 1,500 contractors a day on our plant site. We take trees, we grow trees. I'm gonna stop, y'all. It's okay. All the same talk. Y'all ready to listen? We grow trees, we harvest those, we cut them into lumber, we take the chips from that, and we produce paper. And we don't make paper like you writing on. You know the 12-pack Coca-Cola boxes? That's what we make, coated board. If you unfold that box of Coca-Cola, or you will see on the inside it will either have me, West Baco, and the later boxes will have West Rock on the inside. If you see that in a Coca-Cola box, we made that paper. We the only mill that make that. We take the bark from the tree. You know what the bark is on the tree? What do you think we do with the bark on the tree? We cut it off. That's right. But then what do we do with it?
Make cardboard.
Who said burn it? We burn it. We burn it. And what do we do with it when we burn it? Huh? Okay, here's what we do. Who all seen the tea kettle on the top of the oven? When it pop off and the steam come out and go, woo! Seen that on the oven? What we do, we got a very, very, very large tea kettle. We actually have 3 of them. And we boil water in that tea kettle. And it produces to the point that it pops off as steam. We take that steam and we spin what we call a turbine generator. We produce enough electricity with 2 of our turbines to run our entire plant. And with the 3rd turbine, we actually sell power back to Alabama Power. So we pretty well self-contained. If you don't go to college, I recommend that you take up a trade. If you don't go to a 4-year school, this is something that's often overlooked, brother. Welders, mechanics, electricians, there's a very high demand for those. And you can go to school for 2 years now and learn a trade and make a very, very good living for your family and have a good career at a 2-year school. You don't have to go to a 4-year college to be successful. Okay? Nothing wrong with it, but you don't have to. There are very good trades in the 2-year schools that people are overlooking where they can make a very, very good living. I would recommend that to my son right now, but my son's 31. Okay, any other questions? You guys got better on questions at the end. They asked a pretty good question. You got better, didn't you? It did get better. And then we got an engineer.
Chester, some of them, you know, the question was asked earlier. Hey, y'all, listen up. Somebody asked a question earlier about you getting into drugs, and you said your mother, you had respect for your mother, and you didn't want to lie to your mother, and your mother didn't want you to go down that path. Some of these kids in here, their mother's going down that path. Their daddy's going down that path. And so what do you say to those kids who they're living in that kind of life right now? They're seeing that all around them. They're seeing it on the streets. They're seeing their buddies into it. So what can you tell them that they're living in that kind of stuff right now?
Okay, so this is what I would tell you, is that Jesus does not want you to see you go down that path. And guess what? Can I be your big brother? Who all will let me be their big brother? Nobody? Who gonna let me be? You know, I'm a really nice big brother. Who all want me to be their big brother? And listen to me now. Your big brother does not want to see you go down that path. Now, if you see what drugs do to America, so let me tell you some statistics. And I see this as a problem. And I don't say this to hurt or insult anybody, so please don't take it that way. This is just the data. In the 50s, 5% of our kids were born out of wedlock. In the 50s. In last year, especially demographically speaking, minorities, blacks, African Americans, 72% of our kids were born out of wedlock. That's changed from the late 50s until now. Okay? You see marriage without being married. Thank you for correct asking. Without being married. That's the change that's happening. When you see drugs, if you have parents, if you have friends on drugs, you see it destroying them and what it'll do to them. Don't allow it to do that to you. I've had other people, I know people now that will not touch alcohol because they had a parent that was an alcoholic. And they vowed to themselves to never touch alcohol. Drugs and alcohol is a drug. They destroy you. So what I would say to you is, look what's happening. The prisons are full of us. Do y'all not see that? And the graveyards are full of us. You have to turn that around. And you have the power to turn that around. So we don't want to see you on drugs. And what you need to do is encourage, if at all possible, your mother or your father to stay away from that. And you need to get yourself in an environment to where you're free from that. And that environment might be here for 2 hours a week. It might be wherever it's at. But you need to get yourself in an environment for that. Because drugs destroy and they kill. Let me tell you this. In Alabama and Georgia, and this was a couple of years ago, they said it's gotten better. 50% of the boys, all demographic groups, 40 to 50% of the young boys never finish high school in 4 years. That's true data. Out of those kids that drop out of high school, that never finish high school, 70% of those kids are either in jail, in prison, on probation, or on parole. 70% of them. And don't count the ones that's in the graveyard. And so, if you want to improve your chances to stay off of drugs, stay out of jail, and stay out of the graveyard, the number one thing that you can do is stay in school. And that's what I would tell you, is to stay in school. Because the reality is, you have to eat. When you get 16, 17, what's my youngest young male in here? Who's 16? Who's teenage boys? How old are you? Okay. So, if you out in the streets and you walking around, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. So you're young and you're healthy. And you have to eat. And if you've never been hungry, you don't know what it feels like to be hungry. And once you become hungry, your body kicks into what it calls survival mode. And you start doing things that you would not do when you're not hungry. And I never want to see you get to that position, because you will do some bad stuff when you get hungry. So you got to eat. Don't get in that situation. And stay out of that by staying in school. So brother, the number one thing I would tell them to do is stay in school.
And you know, like Chester said, you know, we all got to eat. But a lot of people's got the idea that somebody's supposed to give you that. You know? Well, what does the Bible say about if you want to eat, what does the Bible say you're supposed to do? Work. The Bible says if you don't work, you don't eat. And we're coming into a time that people think that they're owed a meal and they're owed a livelihood, but you're not. You know, God expects us to work for that. We're supposed to do that. Chester, and you may not want to share, but give them a rough ballpark figure of kind of what you make, if you don't mind. Just in rough, you know. I know it's probably 2 or 3 times what I make, but that's all right, you know.
I make a lot. Let me tell you this.
And I know it's a lot more than I make, because Shannon makes a lot more than I make, and he's Shannon's boss. So,
I make a lot. I'll say this. I had a lot of folks said 6-figure income's good. I had a 6-figure income 15 years ago. We own 6 homes. And I'll tell you this, my wife drives and we have no dealings with drugs. I don't have anybody around me with drugs. But my wife drives a SUV Porsche SUV, and I have a Corvette. And we have a 4,000 square foot house that 2 people live in. And we pretty well go and do anything we want to do. You know, money is not, you know, the one thing that I'll answer your question this way. The one thing that never hinders me or my family from doing what we want to do is money. Money is not a hindrance to us. Oh, and my wife said she forgot about this. I forgot about this. Her birthday present. And so we make a lot of money. And I'll leave it at that. I'll tell you this much. Let me tell you this. We have hourly employees at our paper mill that make $100,000 a year. They're hourly. So you got the hourly employees, then you got the supervisors, then you got the superintendents, then you got the lower managers, and then you got me. So stack that up on top of each other.
And you look at what Chester's doing, and he tells you, y'all listen now, listen up. Think about the folks that's dealing the drugs in your neighborhood, that's selling the drugs. They got a new painted car with fancy rims on it, but a lot of them living in a shack of a house. And here's a gentleman who's doing things legally, doing it right, working hard, and he'll be able to retire in a little while.
2 years at 55.
He'll be able to retire, and he can do whatever he wants to after that. And a lot of you are thinking that, well, I'm not in that situation, but do you remember what he said when he was growing up? He didn't even have running water.
Can I tell him what I made on my first job? I will tell you all this, and I don't say this in a bragging way or a boasting way, because I don't talk about the money much, but I try to give more than I receive. You know, but we've accumulated. My first job I had, I made $2.90 an hour. That's the very first job I had when I finished school. I made $2.90 an hour. My wife and I had accumulated $1 million worth of wealth. And we've never sold drugs, we've never stole, and the only check that we've ever drawn, because my daddy once when we were younger, he needed to draw maybe a food stamp or something. But my daddy had so much pride that he refused to do it. I've never drawn any type of income other than a paycheck. Everything we have together, we got from working. And when you start talking about the amount of pride that we got, let me tell you this little story. When my wife went back to college, she stayed at home until the kids were raised. And then when my wife went back to college, she was in college, and I was the only person working, and our 2 kids were in school. And her second year of college, a young lady told her at the college, they said, you know, well, we were struggling. My wife didn't always drive a Porsche. At that time, she was driving, guess what? A Volkswagen. Okay? And this is what we were told, or my wife was told. If you would drop out of college, not drop out of college, if you go to the courthouse, you can get a legal divorce and go back home and continue to live with your husband. And then you will be a single black female trying to better yourself with kids. And you can go to college free and you won't have to pay tuition. That's what my wife was told. We have always refused to take a free handout. And we refused to do it. And we were 10 years, brother, after that paying all the loans off. But we did it the right way. And I believe if you do things the right way, that God will bless you. If you try to hook, crook, and steal, how many people have you seen win the lottery and be miserable and broke 2 years later? If you don't live right, listen to me, if you don't live right, God will allow the wormwood to eat holes in your pocket and destroy the worms that eat holes in your pocket. And all your money go right through it. That's a saying. But when you walk in Christ and when you walk in the Lord, guess what else he'll do? He will allow, and this is a true story, and I just got this truck you saw not too long ago. And I drove the same truck, a Nissan, for 16 and a half years. I did. It had 270,000 miles on it, and it never quit on me. And I didn't have to spend any money on it other than paying for it. So all them years, we were saving, we were accumulating, and we were not causing debt. I believe that's because God bless everything you touch if you do right. If you do right.
You remember what Chester said? He said his wife drove a Volkswagen. You know, everybody thinks a lot of times that when you, a lot of young couples, they get married and they think, I want to have everything mom and daddy's got, and they've been working for it for 50 years, but I'm supposed to have it all now. No, if you want to accumulate something, if you want to get something, then you need to live meagerly and do what you need to do to pay your bills, to get by, and not try to spend everything. Not try to keep up with the Joneses. And if you'll look after your finances, then when you get older, you know, here's a perfect example of somebody that works hard and does what they're supposed to do. Now, how many of you, we get on to y'all a lot of times. We'll ask y'all when we used to use paper cups all the time, and we'd find them all over the yard, and we'd say, pick up those cups, and we'd say, and y'all would say, I didn't put it down there. You remember what Chester said? When he was a supervisor, he walked across the yard and he picked up trash. He's doing what he's supposed to do, and people recognize how you act and what you do. And when you sit there and say, well, I didn't put it down there, guess what? People's hearing you say that. But if you pick it up without being asked, people are noticing that too. They might not say anything, but somewhere down the road, they'll see how you're acting. They'll see your response. They're going to see how you act, and it's going to make a difference down the road how you're treated if you get that job or if you don't get that job.
Two things. Our first home that we lived in, my wife had a Volkswagen. I had a little Ford Ranger truck with a 4-cylinder. We had to crank the windows up. Y'all probably don't know how to do that. You have to crank, you have to roll the window up and down. And you roll it up and down all the time because the truck had no air conditioning. But here's what we trying to get you all to see. My wife drove that Volkswagen with pride. I drove that truck with pride. And this is what else we're trying to get you to see. We would drive a Volkswagen with pride today. We're still not too big to do that. And as far as getting a job, your appearance does matter. Don't let nobody fool you. Your appearance matters. I had a young man call my office. I don't know how he got through, but he did. And I answered the phone, and this is what he said to me. This is what he said to me. Hey man, dude, I'm looking for a job. Yeah, and I took the phone out and I said a short prayer to the Lord to get me to say the right response. This was my response to him. Learn how to call and speak to a business before you ever call back here again. And I hung the phone up. You gotta learn how to be business professional and how to carry yourself. When you carry yourself like you are somebody, people will treat you like somebody. If you carry yourself like a gangster, a thug, and a drug dealer, they'll treat you like one.
All right, has anybody else got a question for Mr. Chuck? What's that? What's your question? You got a question? Anybody got a question? You got a question? You got a question?
You can ask, y'all, and listen, y'all can ask me anything. It don't matter, because I don't have anything. I'm not ashamed of where I've been and where I am now. And I'm only here, listen, I'm only here to help you. Let me tell y'all this. And this is personal. As a minority, as a young black male growing up in southern Arkansas, I've never seen anybody in supervision or leadership listen. I'll stop y'all right to listen. that looked like me. Nobody ever told me I couldn't do things. My surroundings told me that. But even though I saw that, I still did the best with every opportunity I ever had, ever. Even today, I'm at work early today and I stay late. Today, even today, I give 100% today, still. And I could probably go home now, but I still wake up every day and I give 100%. You gotta wake up every day and give 100%. See, when I started school, my first year in school in Arkansas was the year that we integrated the schools. And I'll say this, brother, and I hope I'm not out of line. It seemed to me like the racial divide, and I appreciate what you're doing here in the country, is worse now than it was back then. And there are a lot of good people of all races. And we need to recognize that, and we need to stop blaming other people for our situation and pick ourselves up and move on. Learn to love. God said to love everybody. Yes. I can hear you. Did y'all hear what he said? He said our own enemy is ourselves. And if I want somebody to respect my life, if I want you to respect my life, what's the first thing I need to do?
Respect them. Respect ourselves.
That's right, respect my own life. And when I start respecting my life, and then other people will start respecting me. You in control, y'all. Y'all got the key. Yes. From Little Rock? The question is, how far do I live from Little Rock? 96 miles, right up Interstate 30. Listen, y'all, question. Come here, I can hear you. Let me tell you something. The question or the statement was people saying police are trying to kill us. I don't condone any wrongdoing by anybody. But let me tell you the statistic. 95%. I'll stop y'all to listen. I'll stop.
Listen,
Stop you.
listen.
95% of the black men killed in America are killed by other black men. That's just the data. That's just the fact. That's a fact. And so the biggest thing that I can do to make that better is stop killing each other. You gotta stop killing each other. And so why is that going on? I'm gonna tell you why. It's what the question was asked before. It's drugs. It's drugs, and you need to stay away from the drugs. Yes.
What if you just sit in the park and read the book and then somebody just shoot you?
God will bless you, and then you get to go to heaven. I mean, if you just, you can't control that. But listen, y'all. The question is, what if you just sitting in a park and somebody shoots you? If you sitting in the park reading the book and you're doing the best you can, then that's all you can do. That's all you can do. Now, listen. We have let our society run amok, go south, when we got a young man that can even have that thought. You shouldn't even be having the thought that you're going to get shot in a park reading a book. You shouldn't even be having that thought. And I won't get too deep into that, because that's a whole other message to me. And it's something that's very sore and very sour to me. But the crime in our neighborhoods, the crime amongst us has to stop. I was a young man, and we got in disagreements as young men. But we never, and my daddy gave me my first gun when I was 10 years old. It's a 20-gauge shotgun, still got it about that long. It's squirrel hunt, got it to squirrel hunt with. Listen, but we never thought about killing somebody. You all need to stay right here where you are every chance you get and consume the Word of God. And we need to put a value on life again. We don't value life like we used to. We never as kids had a thought about killing one another. And we got in little fights, and we got up and brushed each other off, and we lived another day. But we never considered killing each other. Get killing out of your mind. I put a lot of it on gangster rap, parents, And I know some of them may not be there to do it. You gotta stop them from listening to that. Listen, if you come out here and hear the word 20 hours a week, you will become a Christian. So it'll get in you. If you listen to that gangster rap 20 hours a week, you're gonna become a gangster. Turn that stuff off. Stop listening to it. And parents, don't let your kids say no. You know, I'm a parent that think we should still be parents and we should still tell our kids no. And you should come home and do your homework, and I should know where you are. I'm not upset if my 13-year-old get into trouble at 2 in the morning, that's my fault. So he should have been at home. Let me tell y'all something that y'all really probably not gonna like. When I was a kid, up until our kids were in the 9th grade, they had to go to bed at 9 o'clock. Every night. When our kids got to the 10th grade, we let them stay up to 10 on the weekend. When they got in the 11th grade, we let them stay up to 11. When they got in the 12th grade, we let them stay up to 12 on the weekends and 10 at night. That's just the way it was. And more of that needs to go on them. Need to be at home. You can't get in trouble at home in bed.
A lot of you are looking around at your circumstances, and it was something mentioned just a while ago, and you're talking about the circumstances that you're in and what you're seeing around you, and you don't see any way out. But there's everything that Chester's told you tonight, his story. Y'all listening? Are y'all listening? I don't think so. Be quiet, listen. Everything that he told you, there are biblical illustrations behind it. If he'd have looked at his circumstances, the way he was brought up and being poor and this kind of thing, he would have never gotten to where he was but he's put his focus on Christ. He's put his eyes on the thing God wants him to do. And if you keep your focus on the things that's around you and the situation you're in, understand that you'll be just like Peter when he got out of the boat. When the storm came and Jesus appeared walking on the water, and Peter said, Jesus, Lord, if that's you, have me to come to you. And Jesus said, come on to me. And Peter got out of the boat and started walking on the water. A human being started walking on the water. But then he looked, the Bible said, and the waves were boisterous, and he started looking at his circumstances, and he began to sink. And Jesus reached out and grabbed him. He said, Lord, help me. And Jesus reached out and grabbed him, and he said, why did you lose faith? Why did you not believe? And here's the thing, you can keep your eye on circumstances, or you can keep your eyes on Christ and get them on Christ, and he'll take you farther than you've ever imagined you being able to go.
Let me tell you this, and I'll shut up. So what does it take to achieve the goal of being a successful, I'm going to answer this one, of being a successful leader in this country? This is what you got to do. And we have the leadership example. You have to be able to be crucified on the cross daily, and then go out daily and defend the people that's crucifying you on the cross. And that's what Jesus did. People talk about me every day, and I go take up for them. And that's what you're going to have to be able to do. You got to be able to love the ones that falsely accuse you and do good by them. And that's biblical. You got to be able to bear that cross. And you got to be able to stay there faithful when there's a crown of thorns on your head. You got to be able to stay there faithful when they piercing you in the side. You got to be able to stay there faithful to the very last. And that's what you got to do. And you have to stay faithful when the earth shakes, when the sun refuses to shine, when the moon drips blood, when all these things are going on around you. You got to be able to stay faithful. And then look at the people that's persecuting you and say, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do.
Y'all get